Relevance of Shastra Bhyasa, meaning study of scriptural texts, to God realization. Satsangas in Guru Sannidhi are always illumining and inspiring. Recently in one satsanga, Swami Amitananda asked Appa a question on the above subject. Swami Amitananda had spent more than 20 years in studying Shastras under great masters and in disseminating their contents to spiritual aspirants all over the world with great success before he came to Appa in August 2004, surrendered to him and took sannyasa. By his own personal experience, he knew that studying Shastras and becoming a spiritual teacher generally engenders sattvic egoism in one, which becomes the greatest impediment in attaining the goal of self-realization. He posed this question to Appa. Appa, knowing very well that the study and dissemination of Shastras will give rise in general to sattvic ego in one, why do people take great pains in studying them? And is there any need for their study? Appa gave a lengthy and very profoundly illuminating explanation in reply. In fact, a torrent of wisdom and enlightenment flowed out of Appa as a reply to this question. The salient points explained by Appa are given here. For one who has realized God and has experienced truth, the reality, the Shastras become a mirror to see himself. They become the witness to his experiences. To convince oneself that the path to God that he has walked, the condition he is in at the present, and the things he is doing now are all valid and true beyond all doubts, the Shastras become a proof, a clear evidence, an authentic text, a source book. But without personal experience as the base, as the ground, if one merely learns Shastras, it becomes a waste. Some of them who are mere book learners often deride and talk slightingly at genuine sadhakas seriously engaged in genuine spiritual disciplines. They are not aware of what is true and what is false. They go on bragging and boasting that everything is false, the whole creation is only an appearance, and there is no stuff or truth in anything we see or do, etc. They do not like or approve of anything that the religious people, sadhakas, and spiritual people do, like worshipping stone and other deities with elaborate rituals, faith, and devotion to Guru, and implicitly following his directions, circumambulating and prostrating to temples, deities, gurus, saints, and other such venerable people, etc. They say that it is all stupid nonsense because whatever we see with our eyes is all a myth, only an appearance. It is of course true that the only reality is that which has become everything and not the becomings. But if one goes on talking like this, scandalizing everything and everyone, his whole personality will get puffed up with sattvic ego. Then he can never become full, whole, complete, Purna. After all, whatever we see and feel with our senses is not different and separate from that one absolute reality. The whole creation exists and is there only because of that reality, that truth. Without it, how can creation be there? It is there all-permeating and all-pervasive in the whole of creation. It is that which has become sky, air, water, and earth. Its presence, power, and energy is there in everything. It is only by personally experiencing this truth that one can become full, wholesome, and paripurna. That truth is pervading everything. The whole creation is full of that only, and that alone is permanent and everlasting. Whatever we see with our eyes is not permanent, is not the truth. Knowing and realizing this by personal experience, one should become mum, silent, should become a mauni, a gnani. We should not begin deriding and scandalizing everything and everyone, because whatever we see with our eyes is not the real truth, the reality. Can these people who go on deriding and scoffing at everything destroy the whole of creation? Whatever we see are all relatively real because they exist and one can transact with them. But they are not the reality, the eternal truth, because they are constantly changing and subject to decay, destruction, death, and disappearance. But a real gnani, an illumined soul, should remain established in truth and live and do everything in the light of this truth. The reality is beyond one's comprehension, beyond one's senses. It remains unseen inside and energizes and activates both the body and the mind. Whatever we see with our eyes are bound to disappear one day. But the reality is everlasting and not subject to any kind of decay or destruction. It remains the same always. What comes has to go. What appears has to disappear. What is born has to die. But the eternal truth, the reality, is not seeable, does not become manifest, is not knowable, but is only experiential. Learning about this through books or by listening, if one goes on deriding everything as false and untrue, that does not make one a gnani, a self-realized soul. That does not confer fullness, wholesomeness, or purnatva to such a person. A gnani who is full and wholesome will be experiencing the reality always and in everything and in everyone. The truth or reality or God is both with form or shape and without form or shape. A gnani knows that God, who is formless, will assume a form and appear before his devotee. But one who has not seen God or truth but has learnt Vedanta only through books is bereft of all sense of fear and devotion to any one or anything, like fear of parents and elders, fear of his guru and other gurus and saints, etc. How can enlightenment or illumination arise in one who is bereft of devotion? Without illumination or gnana, how can one experience fullness? That is why such pseudo-gnanis or Vedantins suffer quite a lot in their lives. The one who says that one alone is real should live his life in the light of that truth. He should desire absolutely nothing of the world. There should be in him no trace of desire or hankering for anything whatsoever. He should eschew and relinquish everything of the world. He should neither possess nor have attachment to anything. Wife, children, house, wealth, property, name, fame, nothing, not even clothing. He should in fact live like an avadhuta, who is one without desire and attachment. Such a one would be firmly established in the truth that that one alone is real and all else is illusory, is only an appearance. He will be having no feelings at all about anything of the world. Food, water, house, dress, clothing, contacts, relatives, friends, etc. It is not that he has given up all attachments purposely and with effort on his part. Such feelings are not there and do not arise in him. Such will be the state of one who has reached the pinnacle of Advaita and remains firmly established in truth. Such supreme state of Advaita philosophy if one learns from books or from someone else and goes on preaching others, himself remaining merged in worldliness with wife, children, etc., how can there be fullness either in him or in what he says? He only speaks about Advaita. Has he experienced it? Does he live it? No, he is only an adept in speaking. What is the use? Only his egotism will get bloated up like a fully blown balloon. Only his pride and arrogance will grow out of all proportions. That's all. He will have no faith or devotion to God or Guru, no respect or reverence to anyone, no sense of what is right and what is wrong, what is sin and what is virtue, what is sacred and what is profane, etc. Guru, who would be watching him all along, will, at the right time, implant a spark of wisdom and enlightenment in his heart. It soon catches fire and engulfs him. He gets convinced that his Guru is all-knowing and all-powerful, and that unless he earns his grace and blessings, he is doomed. He begins to suffer from an acute sense of remorse and shame for his past doings. Due to Guru's grace, he now knows that God exists. He passionately hankers after God realization and realizes that this is not possible unless he surrenders himself to the Guru. He does this. The Guru makes him shut his mouth now and transforms his whole life. He puts him on the path to God realization and makes him immerse himself in appropriate sadhana to reach his goal. For him who believes he is only the body, what is the use if he learns from books that the formless, attributeless, all-pervading Parabrahman alone is the supreme reality? This is of course true. But it is also true that Parabrahman is in everything and in everybody. Whom do you like and whom do you look down upon when he is there in everyone? Therefore, first of all, the feeling that you are the body should go. You should begin seeing that supreme Parabrahman everywhere and in everyone. Then, all thoughts that were bothering and killing you will go. The mind becomes peaceful and you will always be in bliss. And what will such a man do? He doesn't speak either about Dvaita or about Advaita. He remains silent and is in bliss. I am telling this to you out of my personal experience. In the beginning, I was also doing puja, prostrations, pranams, etc. Then, through my Guru, I reached that state where there is neither japa nor mantra, but one thing. The world around should also get benefited from one who goes to such a state. Some fortunate devotees at least should come to him and learn about truth and reality from him. And God will do this. He will make this Mahatma do this thing. What this Mahatma has to do is certainly not such an easy thing. He should make his devotees realize their self, Antaratma, Paramatma by their own personal experience. They should end their sorrow and enjoy everlasting peace, bliss, and joy. Can this be done by a person who has only studied Shastras, memorized their contents thoroughly, and goes on delivering sermons on God and spirituality? No, never. Such a person has only learnt from books that one eternal reality alone is the truth and is satisfied with his book knowledge. When he sees devotees and spiritual aspirants engaged in various forms of worship and sadhanas, he feels that what they are doing are all meaningless monkey pranks. He has only disdain and scorn for such spiritual practices. But is he right? Are they not worshipping God only? Whatever they might be doing, are they not praying to God only to grant them enlightenment and protect them? We see many such people advocating only Advaita, but we also see only Dvaita in all their practices, conduct and behavior. Advaita is there only in what they speak, but speaking itself is Dvaita only. In Advaita, there is only silence. There is a saying, "Speak not Advaita in public," which means that one who speaks about Advaita is not an Advaitin. He does not know what Advaita means. In Advaita, there is no need for words or talks. A Gnani who is well established in Advaita feels, "I am neither speaking nor prompting myself to speak." That reality, that one supreme power is speaking, utilizing me. This is true also. Such full-fledged Gnanis never speak on their own. They never speak by themselves. That unseen supreme power makes them speak. Does he speak because the words he speaks are printed somewhere inside him? Or is there any tape recorder inside him? Can he see what he speaks? No. The mouth is only responding to the speaking tongue. Who is prompting these words to come out? Can anyone see? It is not Dvaita that is speaking. Words coming out of a Gnani established in Advaita are Advaita only. Because Dvaita has no power to speak, walk or respond. The Gnani knows that the one truth, the one supreme power is prompting him to speak, and it is using his body as its tool, its media. He also knows that he is not different from that supreme truth, the reality. Know that you are he, you are that, is the message of Vedanta. This knowledge is experiential. You know what it means only when you actually experience this supreme truth of Advaita. Instead, actually living in ignorance that you are the body, if you only talk about Advaita, what is the use? If you live in the truth that that one supreme power is inside you, that it is that which is talking, that it is because of its power that the eyes are seeing, hands and legs are functioning, then the Dvaita feeling that you are different from that will leave by itself. It is then that you know that the feeling you are the body is empty and can accomplish nothing, and everything is happening only because of that supreme power inside you. It is then that the false and ignorant Dvaita feelings will leave you. But know that it is everywhere and has become everything. When it has become everything, it has also become you. Then you know that you are that only and nothing else. The feeling that you are the body disappears. Only it reigns supreme everywhere all by itself. There are many ways by which Dvaita can be negated, can be refuted. But what is false will always be false only. Should we go on always broadcasting from every housetop that Dvaita is false and God alone is the sole and eternal truth? Whether we say or not, false will be false and truth will always be truth. God alone is the truth. The whole of creation has emerged out of Him only. To understand how one has become everything and how the wonderful drama of the world is going on, we should have self or God realization. We should actually experience this truth. Not going anywhere near the truth and not undertaking any sort of spiritual discipline for self-realization. What can be done if one goes on talking about God, truth and Advaita? Without surrendering to God, we can never get rid of our bad qualities, our defects, and shortcomings. If we want to be free from all undesirable traits in our character and become pure, if we want to free ourselves from the eternal ignorance that we are only bodies, only He should do it, we can never accomplish it by our own efforts. Only His grace, blessings, and compassion can do it, and nothing else. To gain His grace and blessings, we should, in all humility and with firm faith and deep devotion, surrender ourselves to Him. Only then He will shower His love and blessings upon us. Instead of this, if one goes on telling and talking that this is false, that is false, the whole creation is false, God alone is the truth, etc., he will never get His grace and blessings. Only the defects and shortcomings in him will go on multiplying, that's all. God will be watching such people. He tolerates all their misdeeds for quite a while. When it goes beyond a limit, He acts. He makes him get thoroughly deluded and commit some horrible mistake. He will find himself in such a deplorable state and soon realizes that God is all-powerful and can do anything to anyone at any time, that He resides in everyone, prompting them to do all the things they do. He begins seeing His presence in everything and in everyone. Very soon, he who was scoffing at everyone and deriding the whole of creation begins revering and prostrating to every sacred tree, every stone idol, and every sadhu and saint he comes across, saying, "O God, you are in this, you are in that, you are in this person, you are in that person," etc. See me, I know both the path of devotion and the path of knowledge. I revere them both and never distinguish them as different from each other. My Guru used to tell me, "You are worshipping the stone linga of Kannesha. This is not correct. God is all-pervading and is everywhere. You should not confine Him only to this stone and worship. You should worship Him as the whole of this creation." God, who is all-pervasive, will remain all-pervasive. Will I be able to cut Him to pieces? Similarly, have I made Him all-pervasive? Can I make Him so? He was, is, and always will be all-pervasive. Can He be worshipped as all-pervading entity physically? No, this can be done only in one's mind. It is true that He is formless, attributeless, infinite, and all-pervading. He can be realized and experienced so only in the samadhi state. What is there in the samadhi state? There is nothing except peace and bliss. But there are some special attributes of God which we all experience. They are His boundless love, compassion, forgiveness, and grace. It is these qualities that make Him most endearing and lovable to His devotees. Whosoever possesses these qualities in abundance becomes, in fact, equivalent to God Himself. This means that there is no difference between such a person and God. This means that if a person is adorned by these priceless divine qualities in abundance, and if he is ever ready to give away everything that is his to anyone deserving whenever necessary, then he cannot be differentiated from God in any way. He becomes God in a human form. God does this unseen and unknown, and this person does it openly. That's all the difference. When one is in deep meditation, there is nothing then, no bhajan, no devotion, etc. There is no place there for thoughts also. Body becomes just a piece of inert object. That formless, unseen, and unknowable infinite reality, can it talk about itself? It is of course true that is there in everyone. But if it wants to communicate, it has to assume a body. It then emerges out and appears before us in the form of a guru. It manifests itself in one who is totally free from the consciousness that he is the body. Those who only talk and preach about Advaita, saying that God alone is real and everything else is unreal, without actually experiencing this truth through self-realization, will merely waste their present precious human births. If there is any desire for spirituality in them, they will have to begin their spiritual journey right from the beginning, just like small kids beginning from the alphabets. Those who spend their time talking about Advaita like this go on accumulating unknowingly undesirable and harmful qualities, though they will be talking of God always. Who is going to believe them? Will their words carry any weight? One who has not experienced Advaita and who is steeped only in Dvaita, what right has he to speak about Advaita? Because it is said so in the Shastras, if he also begins repeating it, will the listeners believe him? What such a person is in actuality can be known very easily. That he firmly believes that he is only the body can be easily gauged by the way he walks, talks, and conducts himself. Just ignore him when he comes and watch the fun. Don't talk to him and show him any respect or ask him to sit. Just watch his behavior. He becomes very angry in no time and leaves the place immediately, profusely cursing everyone. If he is a real Gnani, will he do so? In Advaita, who should speak to whom? Only one is there everywhere. It has no body. If you ask it to sit, can it sit? It will not be able to sit. It can neither sit nor stand. It can neither be invited nor sent. It is full, whole, purna, complete. One who knows that he is only the body and speaks about Advaita, there cannot be a greater fool than him. A real Advaitin, even if he is made to stand unrecognized at a place for hours, he will not mind it because he will be in bliss. He does not expect or want to be recognized, shown reverence and respect and made to sit, etc. Of course, it is a different matter that generally one does not feel like either going to or staying at a place where there is no love, affection, respect, compassion, and such other endearing and decent human behavior. Knowing that the same supreme reality is there in everyone, we, in this ashram, welcome everyone with respect and love. When the divinity hidden deep inside grows and begins expressing itself more and more, the whole body becomes filled with peace and joy. All the organs of the body begin experiencing a rare kind of contentment and satisfaction. When the divinity inside is able to manifest itself outwardly more and more, one becomes full with peace, bliss, and joy. He no more requires wife and children, kith and kin, relatives and friends, and other such external objects for his happiness and joy. This kind of bliss is in fact the fountainhead or the origin of Advaita. The feelings of I, me, and mine, etc. begin withering away from such a soul. One who is established in Advaita will have no likes and dislikes. He is in fact not the body at all. So, it is not possible to worship or prostrate or do any such bodily service to him. He will always be simple and humble. His whole heart will be against all such vain display. Still, these things will be going on. Such denials and renunciations should come from deep inside one's heart. There is no use merely saying from one's lips that I don't want this, I don't like this, etc. A gnani's whole being would be revolting against all worldly pomp, glitter, and meaningless vain display. He does not want any sort of eminence, honor, or regard. He would have rejected all such things outright, knowing fully well that they all pertain to the body, which he is not. Even if people offer such things to him, he is not happy. He doesn't want them. Even if certain things cause dissatisfaction or any sort of mental agitation to him, he outright rejects them as antics of the mischievous mind. In short, he has nothing to do with anything that pertains to the body, and that is genuine and real philosophy. See how many devotional songs containing the quintessence of all the truths of Advaita philosophy God has made me compose. After having written, sung, and danced in ecstasy, all these songs, after having loudly and elaborately expounded high Advaitic truths, see what he is making me do now. I am now telling, come, come, worship and prostrate before Dattatreya, Audumbaratri, and Kannesha. Surrender to the Lord and get redeemed. Believe me, I am telling you the truth. I am not at all feeling even a wee bit of shame in asking you all to worship, prostrate, and surrender to the Lord. Shankaracharya had reached the pinnacle of Advaitic truth. He was preaching from such dizzy and lofty heights. Even then, he was following the customs of piety, distinguishing between clean and unclean, pure and impure, etc. But that is ever pure, ever sacred. Nothing stains it. Acharya was returning after bathing in the river. God appeared before him in the form of an untouchable. Acharya waved him away, saying, "Keep distance." Instead of moving away, he stood his ground and asked, "Who has to move away, this body or the Atman inside? If you are referring to the body, it is only an inconsequential appendage, and I am not that. It is so with you also. But if you are referring to the Atman, it is all-pervading and is everywhere. It can neither come near nor go far. So now, whom do you want to move away?" Immediately, Acharya was dumbfounded and prostrated to the untouchable, touching his feet. Later, he sang the following verse in Sanskrit. "Glory to him who is all animate and inanimate things in the world, and his consciousness pure. Glory to him who is greater than the greatest, is auspicious incarnate, and is blemishless. Glory to him who is the creator, sustainer, and destroyer of everything, and is the all-doer. Glory to him who is sinless, beyond all illusion and actionless. Glory to him who is Purna and bliss eternal. Glory to him who is all-pervading and is doing everything in the past, present, and future. Glory to the great doer of all times, to the great doer of all times, to the great doer of all times. See what dizzy heights Acharya had attained, and to what state God brought him down in a second. It is only after obtaining this illumination directly from God that the great Shankaracharya established his monasteries in the four corners of India. Earlier, he was a great propounder of pure Advaita philosophy only. He had silenced and had almost eliminated Dvaita philosophy. His flag of victory of Advaita philosophy was flying high everywhere. Till then, he did not want any seats of power, thrones and crowns, etc. He was only preaching pure Advaita, proclaiming that Brahman alone is real and everything else is only an illusion. But after this enlightenment dawned in him, he established monasteries which did enormous good to humanity. But when he was building these seats of power, if someone had confronted him and asked, "What were you saying all these days, and what are you doing now?" what could he say? He had to admit defeat and concede that Dvaita too has its place and relevance in God's creation. It was only after realizing that God and truth is above all man-made siddhantas, meaning philosophies, Shankaracharya surrendered to God and installed deities in the monasteries built by him. Only he who is tested and confronted by God knows what God is capable of and what he can do. Now, do you know what God will do to pure Dvaitins? They believe that Dvaita philosophy alone is the truth, and installation of deities and their worship alone is the path to God realization. They immerse themselves in elaborate rituals for worshipping of idols, vows, fasts, and whatnot. He makes them realize in an instant that whatever they have been doing is all a waste. He tells them, "You are only wasting your time by your worships, fasts, and vows. God is all-pervasive, formless, unseeable, and unknowable. The only way to realize him is to become silent, delve deep inside into oneself, and experience him there in the cave of the heart. Surrender to a guru, take initiation from him, and spend all your time in continuous God remembrance in solitude and silence. Stop what you are doing. They will lead you nowhere." Why God does this is, by strongly believing that what they are doing is alone the right thing, they would have become highly egoistic. They would never reach God with their inflated egos. So he cuts them down to size at the right time. Like this, he will also do to one who swears loudly that Advaita Siddhanta alone is the truth. He drives them to craziness and shatters his mental peace. He will see that he is never at peace wherever he goes, and he will not get even food and rest. He makes him become desperate and cry out, "O Lord, you are my only refuge. Please save me. Gather me up and protect me, please." Then he runs to him, gathers him up, and redeems him, and bestows peace and joy upon him.